I know what you might be thinking right now. This probably feels like one more video you clicked on while lying on your couch, scrolling through an endless ocean of digital noise, hunting for a tiny spark of entertainment or direction. Maybe you've already watched 7 productivity hacks today. Maybe you're juggling thoughts about cold showers, morning routines, and that famous wait 90 minutes before caffeine rule that everyone swears by. And yet, despite all those micro habits floating around the internet promising dramatic life changes, you still feel stuck, scattered, or overloaded. Today's message is not one of those quick dopamine fixes. I'm not here to sell you a magical habit that will change your life instantly. I'm here to talk to you like someone who genuinely wants you to win. Someone who wants you to take yourself seriously enough to stop pretending that passively watching advice is the same as applying it. So let's get honest. If you watch this, nod your head a few times, and then immediately drift into another tab, another app, another mindless distraction, nothing will change. Not tonight, not next month, not next year. At the end of this message, when the final words sink in, you'll have a little window to choose differently. You'll be able to close your screen, pause the noise, and reflect. And I don't mean reflect in that distant, vague, inspirational quote way. I mean actually pause and ask yourself, what am I doing with my life? And what am I willing to start doing right now? Because that little gap between hearing something meaningful and acting on it is where transformation begins. This isn't a self-deception ritual. I won't pretend to teach while you pretend to listen. This is not one more feel-good moment before you go back to staying awake until 4 a.m., scrolling, gaming, numbing yourself, or chasing stimulation. I'm not here to decorate your procrastination. I'm here to help you interrupt it. So today, we're going to talk about 5 foundational habits, not aesthetic habits, not Instagram habits, not become a new person in 5 days habits. These 5 are the pillars that psychology, neuroscience, and behavioral science consistently point to as the basis of a stable, purposeful, high-functioning life. If you cultivate them, even imperfectly, your behavior changes. When your behavior changes, your results change. And when your results change, your sense of identity changes. That's how people reinvent themselves from the inside out. Just one thing, none of this works unless you take responsibility for what happens after you finish reading. You don't need to implement all 5 perfectly. You don't need to become a productivity saint. You just need to choose one small step and repeat it long enough for it to matter. Let's begin. Habit 1. Sleep, your foundational life support system. Sleep is not optional. It's not a luxury. It's not something you fit in after everything else. If you're tired, impulsive, overwhelmed, foggy, irritable, or unmotivated, sleep is usually the first domino in the chain. Without quality sleep, emotional regulation collapses, impulsivity increases, working memory drops, stress hormones spike, and decision-making becomes chaotic. When you sleep well, your brain recalibrates. Your prefrontal cortex lights back up. Your body lowers inflammation, restores hormonal balance, and strengthens neural pathways that support learning and discipline. You wake up clearer, calmer, sharper. You make better food decisions. You have more patience. You feel less defeated. You follow through with the things you said you'd do. Good sleep creates a positive loop that amplifies every other good habit. Bad sleep does the opposite. It drags your entire system downward. If you want your goals to stop feeling like they're always slipping away from you, start by protecting the most fundamental biological need you have. Before motivation, before strategy, before discipline, sleep is the gatekeeper of everything else. Treat it as the non-negotiable anchor of your routine. You deserve a mind that functions at full capacity. Habit 2. Move your body. Train the brain through the body. Now let's talk about physical exercise, the second pillar. Exercise is one of the strongest scientific consensuses we have. It improves every measurable system of your body: cardiovascular health, metabolism, insulin sensitivity, mitochondrial power, muscular strength, posture, hormonal balance, and digestion. But perhaps more importantly, it improves your brain. When you train your body, you flood your brain with neurochemicals that enhance focus, motivation, memory, and emotional stability. You release neuromodulators that help build resilience. You stimulate the growth of neuroprotective factors that reduce long-term risk of cognitive decline. You build a mental association between effort and reward, which strengthens the neural circuits you rely on to work, study, stay disciplined, and resist procrastination. When you go to the gym, lift weights, swim, run, walk, or practice any physical activity, you're not just building muscles. You're building a mindset of effort. You're showing yourself that you can do difficult things. You're practicing the art of beginning, sticking with something, pushing a little further, and finishing. That mental architecture transfers into everything else you do. Studying, working, controlling impulses, managing emotions, pursuing long-term goals. Movement transforms your brain into a healthier version of itself. It stabilizes your mood. It teaches your mind to tolerate discomfort and grow from it. So if you want clarity, confidence, and emotional balance, start moving. Even small, consistent steps change the entire trajectory of your life. Habit 3. Study, stay in the zone of security. Now let's talk about a habit too many people ignore: the habit of learning. I don't care how talented you are, how much experience you have, how good your job is, or how comfortable your paycheck feels. You are only secure if you keep learning. People confuse comfort with safety. They land a job, settle into a routine, and assume they're protected. Meanwhile, the world around them keeps evolving. Technology advances. skills become outdated, markets shift, new professionals enter the field with updated knowledge, and suddenly, the person who once felt comfortable discovers they are no longer competitive. Studying is not a school thing. It's a survival strategy. When you study, you stay relevant. You increase your value. You sharpen your tools. You keep your brain engaged, active, and able to adapt. You create a professional identity that stays solid even when circumstances change. Learning is not just about reading books. It's about being curious enough to stay updated with your field, reading articles, exploring new ideas, practicing new skills, staying aware of trends, and treating your brain like an asset. If you stop learning, life will eventually push you out of your comfort zone, and it won't ask for your permission. But if you keep studying, you stay in what I call the zone of security. That's where you grow with your environment instead of chasing it. Habit 4. Gratitude. Anchor yourself in reality, not illusion. This next habit is often misunderstood. Gratitude is not about screaming affirmations at the sun, hugging your houseplants, or forcing yourself to feel happy all the time. Gratitude is the simple, honest practice of recognizing what you've already achieved, what you already have, and how far you've already come. We live in a culture of constant comparison. Everyone is chasing the next milestone, the next upgrade, the next version of themselves. And while ambition is valuable, obsession with what's missing drains your sense of meaning. You start believing that nothing you have is enough. You begin treating your accomplishments as irrelevant. You lose awareness of the reality that you have survived, learned, built, achieved, and overcome more than you give yourself credit for. Genuine gratitude grounds you. It balances your drive with perspective. It prevents burnout by reminding you that progress is real even when perfection is. You don't need to romanticize your life. You just need to recognize your wins, big or small. Your home, your clothes, your friendships, your health, your milestones, your growth. Gratitude doesn't replace ambition. It fuels it by stabilizing your emotions. People who are grateful think more clearly. They make better decisions. They pursue goals from abundance instead of desperation. They stop sabotaging themselves by believing they're failing when they're actually evolving. Habit 5. Use an agenda. Outsource your overloaded brain. Finally, organization. You can sleep well, exercise, study, and practice gratitude. But if your mind is a chaotic tornado of tasks, deadlines, responsibilities, and random thoughts, your life will feel heavier than it needs to. Organization is not optional. It's the structure that makes every other habit sustainable. Your brain wasn't designed to store 20 tasks at once. That's what tools are for. An agenda, digital or physical, is a form of cognitive outsourcing. It's your external prefrontal cortex. When you write things down, you reduce mental load, increase clarity, and create predictability. You stop forgetting commitments. You stop feeling overwhelmed by invisible responsibilities. You stop falling into anxiety spirals because everything is floating around in your mind without structure. Using an agenda doesn't make you rigid. It makes you free. It gives you a map. It turns chaos into clarity. It transforms life from overwhelming to manageable. It allows your brain to do what it does best: think, solve, create, and focus. The path to success. Build it on behavior, not fantasy. These 5 habits are not glamorous. They won't make viral headlines, but they work. They are the pillars that create a life with mental health, stability, discipline, and direction. A life where goals don't feel impossible. A life where motivation lasts more than a week. A life where you think long-term instead of chasing instant gratification. Success is not about intensity. It's about consistency. And consistency grows from simple habits done regularly. That's what creates identity. That's what creates self-trust. That's what builds a future you can rely on. Thank you for staying with me until the end. Now it's your turn. Close your screen. Choose one habit. Start small. Begin today. And if you want a deeper dive into motivation, discipline, and long-term behavior change, you can join my community in the link below.